Okay. Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, Andrew. Nadine, I'm sure that video was going to be hilarious. Sad we couldn't watch it. You'll have to send it to us so we can watch it in our free time. But everyone, for those of you that haven't met or spoken to me before, my name is Emma, and I am the Cisco Meraki account manager for the Gauteng region. So Chris and I both look after the Meraki portfolio in South Africa. I look after all accounts within head office in Johannesburg, and then Chris looks after the rest of South Africa. So we both have pretty sizable patches to look after, which is quite fun for the both of us. I've been with Meraki for about 2 years, and it's been a really wonderful and fun and exciting journey so far. So what we're here to talk to you today about is just introducing you, for those of you who have never heard of Meraki, introducing you to what it is that we do, who we are, and then taking you through a bit of an overview in terms of, as partners, why you should be selling Meraki, how to position Meraki, our product portfolio, and different ways to build value around Meraki. I will then be handing over to the wonderful Christopher, and he will be taking you through the Meraki demo. So good luck to him and his internet. So without further ado, it's wonderful. In front of you, you can see the little Axiz bag. Have we named the ant yet?
Yes, we have, and his name is Axel.
Axel.
And no, he does not play in a band, Guns N' Roses. Maybe in his previous life.
He can dream. He can keep aspiring to that. Okay, so Fit Friday with Cisco Meraki. So I'm first just going to start. The presentation today that we've put together is based on a network you can build on. So starting off with just Meraki and who we are, just for those of you on the call who don't know. Cisco Meraki was started. Oh, looks like you can't see my screen anymore. Just going to turn my video off because I think it's ruining it. So Cisco Meraki started back when the internet was actually brought around and introduced. And Cisco Meraki was started by two IT guys straight from MIT who wanted to bring the internet to the people of San Francisco. They had the idea that the internet should be something that everyone had access to. I don't know if I'm losing you guys, that everyone had access to. And so they came up with the idea of having an access point that you could very easily, as any person who wasn't even IT literate, put an access point on your roof and start streaming out SSIDs. Very quickly, though, they started to see that while their access points were really good and people were purchasing them, and it was giving more people that wouldn't previously have had access to the internet, it was giving them access and getting them online. Their main focus for their engineers was to make sure that their platform was strong, reliable, had the latest firmware updates. But instead of the engineers focusing on new products and the platform security, they were rather spending a lot of time on the phone to people, helping them set up and manage their networks, which was kind of taking away from the whole premise of a simple network that you could configure yourselves. So what they decided to do was introduce, which is what is now our most important product in our portfolio, which is the Meraki dashboard. With the introduction of the Cisco Meraki dashboard, now either individuals like you and I, partners, customers, had the ability to not only manage and deploy their network really easily, but they also had a dashboard that was using GUI language, so it was really easy to understand. So you no longer had to be proficient in networking, coding, CLI to actually be able to code and configure a network. So with the introduction of the dashboard also came the introduction of the rest of our product portfolio, because our engineers saw how valuable it was making an online networking portfolio that was cloud-based, that was easy to deploy, that was quick and easy to configure, and you didn't need to study for years and years and do things like, obviously we've got programs like CMNA, ECMS trainings where you can become more proficient in networking, but you didn't need that in order to actually start and get going with Meraki. I've never done any of those types of programs. And during my induction to Meraki, we were actually able to set up, we were working in a lab environment, and we had to code and actually set up our own SSIDs, configure a switch, create different firewall rules. And someone like me who's non-technical, with how easy the dashboard is to navigate, the fact that it's got all natural language, it was really easy for even someone who's non-technical like me to actually set up my own SSIDs and start setting up a network. And that was kind of how Meraki started. Since then, we've grown quite considerably and very quickly. Obviously, after Cisco acquired Meraki, we've been left to run as our own kind of company, in terms of we've got our own office, we have our own team that is just dedicated to Meraki. But with that, we've also got the backing of such a big company that is not only the global leader in the security space, but also has given us a lot of place and space and time to develop new products. We've obviously got the capital behind us to make sure that we're constantly growing our portfolio, but not just for the sake of growing a portfolio. And we're not in the industry to build features for the sake of it. Instead, Cisco and Meraki spend a lot of time on identifying crucial needs of not only our customers, but our partners too. So we put a lot of time into research and understanding, okay, where are some of our customers' biggest struggles and how can we help solve them? So you're not going to see us coming up with something that's quite fun and trendy and a feature that's going to be great for the next couple of months, but then probably not something that's actually going to add value to our customers. We bring out features that we know will add value to almost 100% of our customers, and it'll be something that will drive business, create more efficient networks. So that's what our premise has been from the beginning, and it's something that is here to stay. So our mission in all of that was to simplify powerful technology to free passionate people to focus on their mission. So as mentioned, we started with the access point. That was our first and our most, I guess, at the moment, even still our biggest product that we have within our stack. However, we are now full stack. So we've got our MG, which is our latest cellular gateway product. We've got our Cisco MX, which is our security appliance. With the Cisco Meraki MX, you also have access to SD-WAN. Within 2 buttons, you can literally turn on site-to-site VPN. So it's one of our products that's growing incredibly quickly. SD-WAN is obviously very topical in the networking space. And you can see rightly so, people are beginning to move away from MPLS lines and rather wanting to do something a lot easier, more cost efficient, something that you've got more visibility over, it's a bit more robust. So this is our product that's probably, we've got a lot of excitement around at the moment. We've obviously got our Meraki switches. One thing I love, and I always tend to demo with the Meraki switches, is the topology page. The amount of customers that are here, they take hours to draw out their, not just hours, actually weeks, to draw out their topology pages, and understanding where a device gets onto the network, which devices are where, how they're connected, which switch, which access point is plugged into which switch. With the Meraki switches, the moment you have those in your environment, you get a topology page that is drawn out for you, which saves an IT manager weeks when they're having to do, I guess, a bit of an audit of their network. It also means that you can even see non-Cisco and non-Meraki devices. You won't be able to control them from the dashboard, but you'll still have visibility in terms of where they are connected. We've got our Meraki Insights, which is just a licensing overlay to the MX box. So this is quite an exciting product for anyone who's doing something like VoIP, because you've got VoIP Health, which you can keep an eye on our Insights. So it's as I said, it's a license that you get access to, for example, application layer visibility, so that you can see if someone comes to you as a partner, or even if they come to your customer, and they say, listen, I can't get onto one of my applications today, you would actually within Insight be able to have visibility of of that application, and you can see, okay, when someone can't get onto it, is it an issue with your actual physical hardware? Is it an issue with your internet provider, or is it an issue with the application itself, their server's down? So normally issues like that take a couple of hours for an IT guy to actually figure out and say, I don't know where the issue is. Now with a couple of clicks, you can actually see, okay, this is where the issue is. The reason that you can't get on is there's actually a problem with the access point is down that you're trying to connect to. Or alternatively, oh no, it's actually the application itself that's down, their server is having connectivity issues. We've got our systems manager device, pretty self-explanatory. And then one of the products that I'm very excited about, and if we had my Chris and my counterpart for Africa, Nicholas Malherbe, if any of you have spoken to him before, if we had him on the line, he would be probably spending this entire presentation on this product. And that is our Cisco Meraki cameras. These are a really exciting product. They're no longer just looking at physical security. Instead, a Cisco Meraki camera is actually a sensor. So just to give you a couple of examples of why we're so excited about this product, I just want to quickly check, can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yeah, all good, Emma.
Okay, great. So one of the reasons that we're so excited about the Cisco Meraki camera is because it's a sensor. So if you just think about it as two eyes and ears, the options or the possibilities that you can do with the Meraki camera are kind of endless. They kind of end where your imagination ends, because as you can see up here, this beautiful thing we have over here, which is just illustrating that we've got open APIs, which means that you get all these different products. They connect to the Meraki dashboard, straight out of the box management and analytics, which is obviously very exciting. But then with these open APIs, you can do things like automation. You can have them linked to different applications. You can pull the analytics and feed them into your own platforms and really derive from the platform whatever it is that you see value in. So in retail, we've got customers who are using the analytics to understand how foot flow traffic goes through their stores. And then when they've got a promotion, for example, they know exactly where they should position any of the products that are currently on promotion, because they know typically how customers interact when they go into their stores. With the cameras, though, the things that you can start seeing and doing and playing around with is, if you just imagine the camera as a sensor and two eyes and two ears, you can use the camera for a lot more than just networking. So for example, we've got some customers who, I can't say the name, but they're a really big coffee house, global coffee house, I'll call them. They've got offices and stores all over the globe. I know that my boyfriend personally doesn't like their coffee. He says it's actually quite average, so he doesn't understand why they're so big. But anyway, they are. And they have, one of their biggest ways that they were losing millions and millions of dollars every year was the people who worked in their store where as a customer came in and stood in front of the cash register, and let's say they ordered a pumpkin spice latte over Christmas and a chocolate chip cookie to go, the cash register, the person working behind the cash register would plug it all in. The coffee would come out, the chocolate chip cookie would be handed over. But as the person turned and walked away, the person would issue a refund and say, okay, the person actually canceled their order. And the cash would go straight into the teller's pocket. This, if you think that they've got stores all over the globe and thousands of them, if every single person does this a couple of times a week only, the amount of money that they were losing was extortionate. So how we solved this was a non-networking issue. It was a security issue. But with Meraki, we were able to put two cameras there and acting as a sensor. Whenever someone issued a refund with our open APIs, the camera would take a picture and see exactly what had happened prior to the refund. If there was, in fact, someone standing there and there was an exchange, then what it would do is it would alert management and say, you need to go and look over your tapes, because actually there was a person there, there was an exchange done, so this is not actually a refund. However, if there wasn't, then it would know, okay, this was a real mistake. So with things like that, you're starting to see the value of having open APIs and having a network like Meraki that you can manage from anywhere. And you can really start building value outside of just the usual, I need wireless, I need guest access in my hotel. Instead, you can start building value around things like you're in a bank and you have you have maybe 3 people working front of house at this bank or this hotel, and the line keeps getting really long, the camera will start to pick up. You can obviously ring fence it and say there should never be more than 6 people waiting in each line. The moment that there are, the camera would pick this up. They would ping management and say, right, you either need to open up a fourth person front of office. Alternatively, this line is building up because there might be an issue, someone's complaining, which means that it's taking longer than normal to get through this transaction, so management is probably needed. So these are just a couple of examples of how Meraki is building not only value, but just also solving problems that normally you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have the type of solution and the type of customizable solution that we really are offering both our partners and our customers. So just some statistics. I'm not going to go over everything within this presentation, else it will be death by PowerPoint. We rather like to be a bit more interactive. But we've got over 460,000 active customers globally. We've got 6.5 million Meraki devices currently online. We recently hit our 2 million dashboard visits daily. We've got 45 million API requests served daily. And this is obviously a huge number when our open APIs was something that we introduced not that long ago, and it just shows how valuable having open API views are if you've got obviously 45 million requests served daily. We've got a single customer of 200,000 Meraki devices and 5 million clients. In terms of you as partners, why you should be selling Meraki. So Meraki drives 90% of Cisco's net new customers. So that's an alarming figure when you think that so many of our customers come through to the biggest Cisco via Meraki. So something that I'd actually just like to point out there is that means that so many people are obviously talking, pitching, and selling Meraki, and even customers are going out and finding out about Meraki themselves. So as a partner, if I was a partner and I saw that number, something I would start thinking about is if you as a partner don't have a cloud managed networking approach, or at least an offering where you are positioning Meraki, chances are your customer will be speaking to someone else then about either us or one of our competitors. So it's something that I think customers, obviously there's a great need for it, especially when you see COVID and people working from home now. You no longer have the types of network set up as you used to have because you've now got because you've got people working from home, and you've got kind of people all sporadically spread out across South Africa and sometimes even across the globe. So yeah, just something to think about is if people are looking at cloud managed networking and you aren't presenting an option to them, they might be speaking elsewhere. 50% of new customers.
Emma?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Would you mind just going on to presentation mode?
Of course.
Thank you.
I was trying to do it while I was talking and then I was getting distracted. Is that better?
No, sorry. It's just if you could share the full screen.
Of course. Sorry.
So just if you go to the bottom, it should.
Of course.
There you go.
Has that worked on your side?
There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Emma.
Of course. So 50% of new customer purchase another product line within the first 12 months. So again, on that, it just means that you can land and expand. You can land a customer with Meraki, and then within your first 12 months, the chances are they'll be spending more money with you. We also, we've got a see, try, buy method, which makes selling Meraki a lot easier. In other regions, this is a bit limited in South Africa. In other regions, we do have trials available where you can actually trial kit directly from Meraki. However, in South Africa, how it works is you would actually go to Axiz and you would get trial and POC kit from them, which means that your customers, again, can actually see the Meraki premise and the Meraki dashboard and our products working for themselves in their own environment. And 80% of our trials are then converted into sales. Okay, I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to go through everything, but then 97%, we've got 97% renewal rate within Africa. of our install base, which is huge. So it means that you can actually start forecasting business for the following year rather than worrying about trying to keep client retention. You're rather actually just focusing on upselling and cross-selling and landing new customers, which is quite an exciting figure if you are looking after a big customer base. Okay. So 6 ways to better help IT grow your business. So with Meraki, because of the fact that it's plug and play, your Meraki devices could be literally shipped to your customer, and while they're still not even with you yet, you can start deploying and configuring your Meraki devices. So the moment that you purchase Meraki, you would then get access to the dashboard. You can claim your licenses online, and you can then start setting up and configuring and creating different templates that you want to apply across your network, so that by the time the kit actually arrives on site, all you have to do is plug it in and it goes online. Which means that also saves resources. So not only do you deploy quicker, but you're saving a lot of resources because you no longer need one account manager per customer. Instead, you could have one account manager servicing 15 different customers, because with the ability to use the dashboard, you're no longer spending hours and hours on site. You're no longer having to go to all the different remote sites. Let's say you've got a customer who's got 27 different sites across South Africa. You don't have to go there physically. You can do all your configuring online, and you just have to get someone who can plug the box in and install the camera, for example, and into the switch stack. But that person doesn't need to be you. So you can rather do all of your stuff sitting in the comfort of your own home. You can also gain full visibility, which gives you more control over the dashboard or over the customer's network. You've obviously got the backing of Cisco security built into our Meraki security devices. So you've got a very protected network. So you don't have to spend hours and hours coming up with latest firmware updates. That's all automated. And then obviously with the open APIs, with the value adds that we've got, you can also look at starting to digitalize for the future and making sure that your customers have a digital approach going forward. Okay, so this is something I was touching on really quickly. The only way to save money on a CapEx model is theoretically the difference in price between vendors. However, with an operational and an OpEx model, 80% of your total IT costs occur after the initial purchase. And with Meraki and the ways that you've got access to the dashboard, the fact that you don't have to go to each site anymore, the fact that you can build value and start solving problems, Meraki customers could save up to 90% on their operational costs. And that's simply because the way that you manage a Meraki network is a lot more simple than how you manage a traditional type of network. And with a leaner IT team, this is huge, because sometimes people look at costs, the CapEx costs, and they think, okay, cool, this solution is going to be cheaper than this one. We have quite a lot of training on one of our biggest competitors that is, they're very cheap, or they look very cheap from the onset. However, all the costs incur down the line, and we've then had lots of customers who initially purchased them because they sounded cheaper, but then actually their operational costs were huge because they don't have the same time of 24/7 support that we have. They don't have the same kind of support. So they were having to spend hours and hours on the community tab trying to find out the right information that they needed. Their warranty runs out after 3 months. So those kind of costs add up down the line. Whereas with Meraki, you get what you see and that's what you get. So everything, once you purchase the switch, all the updates that come afterwards are included. There's no additional charge for the dashboard. That's again included. So that's where you really start building value around Meraki. Just to quickly touch on, in South Africa, we do also have finance options available. We don't have Cisco finance per se, but we work with a local finance partner. And on a 12-month contract, they're actually able to offer 0% interest. So in times like COVID at the moment, where customers' cash flows are a lot leaner than they used to be, you can actually offer them a finance option for the first 12 months. They do go longer. Obviously, there is then a bit of interest charged, but it's still a lot lower than what other people are offering. So if you are looking at a Meraki solution and they maybe don't have the cash flow at the beginning to purchase it all up front, we do have ways of helping you combat that. Okay, so this I'm just going to touch on really briefly because I know we're kind of running out of time. I talk a lot. But we've got industry leading security straight out of the box. Because Meraki is backed by Cisco, you've then got access to things like AMP, Threat Grid, Snort. We've also got DNS protection with Cisco Umbrella integration, which is really exciting for us. You can do Cisco Umbrella integration on the Meraki dashboard itself. We've got integration with ICE and then industry leading content filtering. So because you've got we've got this, we owned by Cisco, you've got an incredible cloud managed solution, but all backed by the Cisco security. So it really is a solution like no other. So some benefits really quickly, just to run through this, of digital transformation, improve customer stickiness. The one thing that you don't want to be doing as a partner is constantly trying to combat other partners who are trying to steal your business, trying to go in there with other vendors. But with Meraki, because you're solving so many of their problems, they actually stop looking elsewhere because they're like, why would I go elsewhere and look at another vendor when I'm not just getting the solution that's giving me a really good networking infrastructure, but it's also helping me in things that I didn't even know that I needed, such as marketing is getting exciting because they're now able to see how people interact with our stores. So you're getting we can do things on our, which Chris will take you through on the dashboard just now, but you can do things like splash pages where you can start storing, or your customers can start storing people's information. So you're getting a lot of benefits that are outside of just your traditional networking, as I've mentioned. So you do then kind of hold on to those customers and they don't really want to look elsewhere. Better employee productivity and retention for both your customers and you as a partner. Increased brand value for you as a partner because you're now building so much value, and just a more efficient process. So just some local vertical examples. What would a Meraki presentation be without speaking about some case studies that we've done? So we recently brought over a big customer that we're very excited about, McDonald's. We work with IHG Group globally. There's actually they only run Meraki within their different hotel groups. We've got the likes of the Edcon Group. Obviously, they're going through really hard times at the moment, but they are, in fact, a Meraki customer. We've got H&M. We've got EduCourse and Stivians College. So the main thing that I actually like to highlight here is not just big brands. It's rather that brands from completely different types of industries. So often people will come to us as a partner and say, okay, cool, well, which is the vertical that you guys are really good at? And the true answer to that is all of them. There's no vertical that we aren't represented in. And that's because regardless of the type of industry that a customer is in, their needs are the same. They want a solution that works. They want a solution that's easy to manage. They want to try and make it as cost effective as possible, which means that from an operational cost, they don't want to be constantly forking out on things that they didn't know that down the line they'd have to spend even more money here or purchase this newer upgrade, which they didn't budget for a year ago when they were doing their network refresh. All of that remains the same across verticals, and all of that is where we really see our value come in. So that's why I personally see so much value in Meraki. And it's why so many of my customers do too, is because regardless of the size of the company, whether you're a chip shop who's just looking to get yourselves online and have your point of sale machine online and maybe be able to give out some guest Wi-Fi, or you're a huge multinational company that is also trying to solve issues such as people who are taking money from behind the register, there's value for all these different types of customers. And so you as a partner, you can really start targeting all those industries and winning with the same solution and just slightly tweaking your pitch depending on what type of customer you're trying to go after. So it's more than just hardware. This I'm going to go over really quickly. So essentially, you've got a 1-to-1 ratio. Per device, you need a license. People often say, how do you beat this? Because some hardware, you don't have to purchase a license. It's actually something that once the customer understands the value of, it's a really easy sell. you've got 24/7 enterprise support and warranty included with your Meraki license. So that also means that you then get all the benefits of product updates, our engineers working tirelessly, making sure that our products are secure. If something ever goes wrong with your network, you literally can pick up the phone and you know you'll get someone on the other end, not a robot, not a community page where the person doesn't actually see benefit in helping you. It's an actual Meraki engineer at the other side. Firmware updates and security updates that we're constantly working with. And then, of course, you've also got your warranty. So if anything actually ever happens with the hardware, again, we will replace that. So this is actually a value add rather than something that you have to combat. And then support that simply works. So that is the presentation part of this this session. I'm now going to hand over to Chris to do the demo, and then I think we'll do questions at the end, unless there are any burning questions now. But I really do hope that that helped just in terms of understanding what Meraki is, how we position ourselves, and why it is just such a valuable product, regardless of the types of customers that you actually look to sell to. Over to you, Chris.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emma. Can I just check that everybody can hear me?
We can.
Wonderful.
Yes, we can.
Good stuff. Morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. Happy Friday. I hope everyone's had a good week. And thank you, Emma, for the presentation. That was great. From my side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through a demonstration of the different portfolio pieces that we have. Again, it's going to be high level. If you do want a further demonstration, sort of post this, or if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in. We'll sort of answer as and when we can. What I'll do is I'll start by sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys can see that all okay. You just let me know when it's good.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the dashboard demonstration first. I suppose picking from the bits that Emma's discussed with everybody, the first thing that obviously I want to draw your attention to is just how many active networks that we have worldwide. So as you can see, we've got just under 2.7 million worldwide. We've even got these little dots, which may be ships, that could be oil refineries. So again, it's a truly global solution. It's enterprise grade networking. And in terms of how scalable, easy, manageability, there are so many different tick boxes, which is why obviously Meraki is a solution that is, growing at an exponential rate. And as Emma mentioned, the majority of Cisco traditional customers end up sprouting from a Meraki customer that, may have bought something within the portfolio and has then gone on to buy, a full stack or something along those lines. Again, a few sort of case studies here at the bottom, but I won't delve into those because I know Emma touched on those. So if I delve into the Meraki network, and again, what I want to sort of highlight and sort of make known is how easy it is for somebody like myself, who's obviously not a network admin or somebody technical. It is for me to navigate between different networks across a global network ourselves. So this is actually the Meraki network. Obviously, I don't have access to actually change any policies because obviously, that would be a disaster for the guys that have spent their time sort of on this. But what I can do is I can go into each of the different areas that we have, and as you can see, our different portfolios and what we can offer. Again, so if I hide this table, you can see essentially where the different networks are. So we've got the one in Chicago, we've got the one in New York, Texas, London, and the ones over in Japan and Australia as well. So what I'm going to do is start by delving into the network wide and going into the clients to begin with. And again, it's so easy for me to determine, which network I flick between. If I click here, I can basically choose which one I want to jump to. So I could jump from London or San Francisco, wherever it may be. So if we stick with the head office, which is San Francisco at the moment, as it gives us the richest data source. So as you can see from this first page, we can essentially see how many client devices are online, how they're connected, whether it be through access point or plugged in via a switch, and obviously the operating system they're using, and what sort of usage they are as well. So for example, if somebody thought, okay, we're having issues, they may want to basically toggle it by the usage, and then they could go in and see what client this is. They can easily delve into that very simply. One click, we can see exactly what it is and whereabouts it is within the network as well. So again, this is sort of information that we're brought to first and foremost. what we're looking at is a switch. So again, Emma pointed on the topology page in terms of something that's unique to the switching stack. And it's very easy for somebody within the network or somebody from a location to delve into exactly whereabouts the appliance may be situated. So again, so just from a couple of clicks, it will be highlighted, and here we are. We can see what the switch is. We can see it's an MS350 48 port full power, and we can see sort of what's connected to it as well. So again, this is a topology page of the San Francisco. So it's as Emma mentioned, this would take somebody weeks. It would take them hours and hours to basically put together. And with the MS, you essentially have all this, and it's like that straight away. You've obviously got layer 3 and level 7 capabilities as well. So again, with the networks, if we go into the clients, just sticking on this page for a minute, if we wanted to, we could go into the applications and we could basically see which ones are being used more than others. So fortunately for us, obviously a lot of VoIP and video conferencing, because that's what we're doing a huge amount at the moment. We've got things such as Netflix, for example. So you may want to click on Netflix, and then you could go in and see the users that are using it more often than not. And then you can basically go in and, potentially somebody's, iPhone. Obviously here we can see that this person, is using a lot of bandwidth on Netflix. So what we could potentially do, if you wanted to, you could say to that person, contact them direct, ping them a quick note saying, get off Netflix. Obviously, we're not that draconian here at Meraki, but again, it's just something to bear in mind. But again, there are different protocols where you could throttle back, video and conferencing and things like that if needed to be. So first and foremost, if we go into wireless, is our access points. So this is the MR range. And again, as I was touched upon, there's lots of unique factors around the MR. So I'm going to delve on a few. One's going to be the SSIDs. I'm going to touch on the traffic shaping as well as the splash page. And then I'll show you the location heat map as well. So just by going on the wireless section and the access points within the San Francisco network, I can see that we have 180 online and 1 alerting. So this is the main page that you guys are taken to. So again, you may want to think to yourself, actually, okay, I'm going to see which one's alerting. So you click, and then very easily you can see what the model is. So it's an MR42. The tags that people have done. So it's a corporate access point. So obviously it's not used for guest Wi-Fi, and it's on the 4th floor. And again, if we were to click into this, this would give us even more data. So we can see exactly whereabouts in the building it is. If I was to click on this map, you could zoom in and see exactly that. And then we could basically see, okay, what are the issues? And it's very easy for us to troubleshoot. So again, something that would take network admins ages. Within a few clicks, I've managed to basically go into an alerting access point and understand what the issue may be. If it was a case that maybe, for example, there was a cable or an Ethernet cable that was slightly dodgy, we can go into tools, for example. We could blink the LEDs. So we could essentially say to somebody in a remote office, okay, I'm going to be blinking the LEDs. So it's very easy to identify where the access point is. And then there's lots of other tools that you can do. And then, if it's as simple as a cable test, we can run cable tests and all sorts of things like that as well. In terms of location, as mentioned, we can see exactly where it is. And from that point, that gives the guys on the ground, great visibility. So somebody without any technical nuance can easily go in and address those issues. Moving over to the SSIDs. So I imagine that the head office has probably got loads and loads of different SSIDs. A lot of these will be engineering, guys doing lots of testing. But from our side, what we can see is we can see exactly how many are enabled and all the different settings and custom settings. So for example, if we look into the corporate one, we can see that the bandwidth limit is unlimited, as it should be for us guys needing to access, what we need to do. And then there's all these different protocols that are as well. If we look at the guest Wi-Fi, again, in San Francisco, it's unlimited bandwidth, but again, you may want to throttle that back to the guests. And it's as easy as clicking on the edit settings in the access control area. And then you can toggle between which SSID you want it to go to. So if we click on guest, and then essentially you can go to this part, and this will be, when somebody goes on their phone, their iPad, their laptop, whatever it may be, how essentially they're going to connect to your network. So here we've obviously got a pre-share key, which will be a password, and it's very easy to change that there. You could select to open, so there would be nothing. You could do it with MAC-based address, but again, that it's hardly likely that anyone's going to do that. And then in addition, when we go through, as Emma mentioned, you've obviously got the splash page options as well. So we have lots of people will help, design these to obviously make it as simplistic and as easy as possible. But sometimes it might be a case of just clicking through and accepting some terms and conditions. Quite often in the States, people will want a billing option as well. So for example, if somebody connects on, it will say, okay, it's £10 for this long for a day, for example, or whatever it may be. So again, there's lots of different options. As Emma mentioned as well, sometimes guys want to collect the data. So it could just be a case that you, sign on with, your Facebook profile page. It could be a case that you sign on with an email address or a mobile phone number. And then obviously those guys have that data and that option for you as well. Next point, if we delve on, and again, something I just want to sort of mention throughout is how easy it is to basically jump in, different parts of the configuration piece. And at the bottom, you essentially save all of these different protocols that you guys go through. And again, it's super easy to, to manage. If we go through to traffic shaping rules, again, you may want to throttle the bandwidth, per client, per SSID, depending on obviously SSID. So for example, the guest Wi-Fi that we're on at the moment, you may want to really limit it. If it's a small satellite branch and you don't have many guests, you may think, okay, if we get one or two come in, we want them to, have access, but we don't want them to, be streaming live data or anything like that. If we really don't want to, go into the sort of application, we can add a layer 7 firewall. And essentially what we're doing here is denying certain bits. So for example, if we go to video and music, we could scroll down and block YouTube, for example. So anybody on guest Wi-Fi that goes to YouTube, they just essentially won't be able to access it. So again, you could offer them unlimited bandwidth, so they have a great experience, and you could keep adding different firewall protocols on. You might not want them to go on, any sports, for example. So you might just go all sports because you think actually that's irrelevant to what we're doing. And then I suppose the last bit for us on the MR piece will be the location heat map and then the location analytics. This is a great piece for, I suppose, lots of different types of businesses. It may be sort of more focused around others, but what we have here is essentially who, in the building is connecting to which access points more frequently, how many devices are connected to them. So what this may allow you to do is that in this area where it's red, and if I was to play this, again, it's, through the middle of the night, so we're probably not going to get a huge amount of data until the guys sort of come in the office. But you can see guys are connecting here when we have certain hotspots. And what this may mean is that you may have, certain users or certain people having disruption or having poor latency. So you may want to, put a sort of more improved access point there. You may want to move things around. You may want to put an additional one there, or you may want to move these guys around if they're, connecting multiple devices to the access points as well. So again, it gives you great insight to that. Typical user cases, a lot of these, for example, in retail stores, these guys will use it as, for example, if this was a store, what we can see here is that this area is a hotspot. So you may want to put, items that are of a premium, or, if you've got offers or sales or discounts or things like that, you may want to put more advertising or marketing, or even have some stood here on the floor engaging with these sorts of people. So again, it's all open to your imagination. And what we have is all this data that you can easily access and provide. And then from there, you can do with it as you wish. And then if we go to organization, what we've got here is, if we go into the wireless, we should have location analytics. I'm not sure exactly if it's available on here. It's probably available in the London option. We do have it here. And essentially what we can do is we can go a little bit more in depth into the actual users. So for example, if we look for the last week, the last day, the last month, for example, what we can see is, from the MRs, essentially, how many passers-by we have, how many visitors, and how many have connected. So for example, if this was a retail store, these would be alarming figures because we have loads and loads of people walking past the shop, but we've got very, very few that have actually connected and engaged. So what you may want to think is, okay, do we need, to rearrange our store? Do we need somebody bringing these people in? Again, all that data is available. In terms of engagement here, and again, this is a Meraki corporate office, so obviously we've got a lot of passers-by, maybe between floors or, different parts of the building. So again, here, what we have here is we have the engagement, so we can see how many people have connected and what sort of level of engagement they've had. So these users here, the guys that have been for, above 6 hours, And these guys in the darker blue, shades of blue, have only been for 5 to 20 minutes. So again, these guys may have just passed by. So again, lots of data. And then something that I think is quite good is the loyalty. So these users, specific to them, is it their first time or have they been here multiple times? So again, if, for example, we've got a retail store or a bank or a restaurant, for example, we can easily see in the restaurant, are these first time or are these people, potentially coming back to the restaurant time and time again? So again, great level of insight into different customers and different user cases. Next point, if we go on to the MS range, which is the switches. Again, as mentioned, I've showed you the topology before, sort of go through that again. And it's just a great insight into the network guys. So instead of sort of working out exactly what plugs into where and access points into where, it gives you the full visibility and the full option to basically identify, even virtual stacking switches, how it all works as well. Similar to the MS, the first page you're taken to is how many online and what's alerting. Again, you may want to click into alerting. You may just want to go into, a certain switch or something along those lines. So if we scroll down to this one, for example, we can see alerting as a core switch. And again, we'll easily be able to go into and find out what it is. So again, we've got all these ports, quite a few are being used. With the color-coded system, we can see this one's orange. And then if we hover over, we can see what the issue is. So again, it's something that, is a minor implication, but again, it's flagged up and, if the network team need to go in and access that, they easily can. If it's in a, server room, for example, or a remote office, again, we've got the option, to go in, for the location. What you can do is you can attach a photo to the server room, to the server office. Quite often access points are in difficult to see positions, so you can attach a photo, whatever you need to be. But if we went to topology, again, we can exactly where in the network it is. It's probably hidden somewhere. That's probably miles away, but here we are. We've got a core switch. It's highlighted and everything else isn't, so dead easy to see. And if we scroll over to tools, so again, run a cable test or do something, you can run a cable test dead easy by clicking this. You could blink the LEDs, so again, they're all flashing, so it's very easy for someone to identify exactly what the switch is, what the issue is, and it may be a case of plugging a switch out, plugging a cable out, sorry, and putting something inside. So it's super easy for those guys to manage. Something in addition we've got here is the schedules as well. So something that's really helpful with Meraki, and again, the whole idea is that everything wants to be, super easy to use and easy to manage. Network guys don't like spending their time on this. So if somebody was to add a port schedule, we've got lots of different templates. So for example, 8 till 5 daily. So essentially the port will power up between these. Again, it will throttle off. We've got lots of different, so 8 to 5 on weekdays only. We can have weekdays only. So again, switched off at the weekends. And again, it's so easy to drag and drop and customize these times as well. So Thursday, people, come in later on a Thursday, so you might want to toggle that back. And again, for those guys that are trying to save money, power's obviously, expensive. Again, it all comes down to the cost of ownership. So as Emma mentioned, obviously, when you're looking at like for like, we can, sometimes sort of be competitive on price, but we'd always want to talk about, Meraki as a solution and the wider benefits to, the end users, to the network team as well. So again, this is something that's, super easy for those guys to manage. And again, by switch ports, you can do this to all of them. And you can change and you can add new port schedules to different switches. So you might want core switches always on. You might want the aggregation switches at certain layers to, only be powering on weekdays, for example. You don't want them on during weekends. So again, something that's, easy enough to go through. And there's lots of different ways and different things that you can figure here with switches. So again, it's up to the user. And again, if we're looking at sort of traditional command line interfaces, this would take people ages. They would need to plug in. Whereas essentially you can do a port schedule and you can replicate that across the whole switch stack. Virtual stacking is available as well. So it's super easy for those guys to go through. Next part is if we go to the security and SD-WAN. So this is the MX range. And as Emma mentioned, I think she mentioned within 3 clicks, it's super easy to essentially set up site-to-site VPN. So again, if we go into security and SD-WAN, we go to site-to-site VPN. When the customer, for example, first orders an MX, it would come in the off mode here. That's sort of how it's set to standard. So the user would essentially come into security, site-to-site VPN, and then they would essentially have off, hub, or spoke. You know, if somebody wanted to do independent mesh, or essentially established VPN tunnels, so all hubs and spokes speak independently with each other, they would essentially click this, and then that's it. Site-to-site VPN is then enabled. They would prefer to establish, you know, the tunnel on the hub. You know, they would essentially add a hub, you know, where it's coming in from, where the traffic is passing through, and you want to connect with, you know, Meraki London, for example. You can add another one in, for example, the one in San Jose, and then you can drag and drop if you prefer the San Jose one to be a preference. And then again, super easy, and that's essentially site-to-site VPN, how easy it is to establish that, especially with the, you know, the current climate and everything we're going through today. You know, guys don't have the time or the even the capacity to go out and, you know, do this from site to site and set everything up. So obviously, if we can, you know, send somebody, you know, for example, an MG or a Z3 or an MX appliance, you know, depending on obviously what the location is and what the use case is, it's very easy for them to essentially then go on and use that accordingly. In addition, we've got SD-WAN and traffic shaping. So again, I'm not obviously saying any of this. I don't have the authority to do that. But again, these guys, if they're just changing things, it's very easy for them to do it. So if we were to scroll down to the SD-WAN policies and the traffic shaper rules, it's very easy for, you know, somebody that has, you know, sort of very basic networking nuances to go in and essentially create a custom performance class and add that in. So for example, you know, here we have in the San Francisco with the MXs, that Citrix, they obviously have prioritized that. That's probably for some sort of testing or whatever it may be. We might want to create a new custom performance class and call it VoIP, for example, you know, for the phones. Maximum latency, again, if we just go for similar numbers to what is above, just tell me we want less, and maximum loss, packet loss, we might want it 5% as well. And then if we add a preference in up here for the VPN traffic, you know, we want to add in VoIP, for example, or something like that. So we may want to, you know, talking if we go for Citrix Online, whatever it may be. You would then select from down here, and this would say VoIP. It doesn't come in now because I don't have the access to do that, but that's how easy it is to set policies. And for the user, what this means is essentially that, you know, if they need to prioritize some sort of traffic, you know, for VoIP or for phones, for example, a call center, you may want that to pass through a certain areas to make sure that obviously the, you know, the experience is fine for the users there as well. Again, something that I've already done, because again, cameras can be a bit loaded, can be a bit slow loading. If we go over to this part, bear with me. So if we go into cameras, it's super easy for the users to essentially close. And you come to this page, you can see how many are online and sort of where these users are. Again, you've got the model of the cameras, and here, quite fortunately, they've all been listed. As I mentioned, there's lots of different open APIs. So again, you can let your imagination run wild with you, and you can do whatever you need to do with the different cameras and have access for. For example, in certain instances with social distancing, you can have cameras where it can identify the gaps between the person at the front and the person behind them. So if, for example, they're encroached in 2 meters, it may send an alert to, you know, a front desk, and then that person at the front desk can quickly identify that somebody's too close, and they may say to them, guys, can we make sure we're adhering to a social distancing? You know, if we've got queues of people, you know, trying to, you know, access a bank or a desk or something, and what we can see is, you know, we can set a protocol up so that, you know, if the queue gets more than 5 people or an individual has been waiting more than 15 minutes, that again may ping an alert so somebody can come around, or a manager can open up another desk. So again, it's all about user experience, and essentially whatever you want to do, it essentially can be done. So if we were to flick through these cameras, if we try and find one, because I know that these are all bike rooms at the moment, so it's probably going to be fairly difficult to find any motion searches, because, you know, with everybody working from home, there are only a handful of people that are in the offices at the moment. If we were to click on the 4th floor stairwell, this then takes us to live images and live streaming of the camera that is on the 4th floor stairwell. So eventually this will load up, and it will be a little error. So again, here we have our live access, and again, it's very much, you know, what can we do with this data? What do we need to do? Let's say, for example, there was an incident, you know, on the stairs, and we needed to determine, over the last week, what sort of motion there was. Let's say, for example, this panel of glass has cracked, and we need to work out, how did it happen, because we didn't obviously see it. Click on motion search. We can make the screen nice and big so we can get anyone coming through here. And then for us to go through, you can essentially toggle through any time. You can set a certain time. Let's say we look through yesterday, and the time is, from 7:30 in the morning, which may be a little bit early. What this will then do is it will come through and it's analysed data, and all the data is stored on the camera in encrypted form. So again, if somebody was to steal a camera outside, they can't have access to any of the data. And here we have the little, the marks, basically so where there's been any activity. So if we were to drag this down and then click here, for example, we're likely to see some form of movement. And again, it's super easy for us to go in and see all of this and have access to it. And again, this is very basic, but what we can see here is this fella here on his phone, he's walked through this square. So again, what this identifies is that nothing's happened on this glass, for example, if that was still broken. But again, we can then go through to the next part and the next part and the next part to find out exactly what did happen. And to jump between times and, any dates, again, it's very easy for the user to do that. Of the full stack, that's essentially the hardware appliances. Obviously, Emma touched on the M&G range as well. But the two other parts we've got are Meraki Insight and then Systems Manager. So I know that Emma mentioned about Meraki Insight and how easy it is for the network guys to basically work out if there's an issue with the network or an application. Quite often you've probably heard people saying, oh, the internet's slow, it's not working, my emails aren't working. And then how did I identify whether or not it's actually the internet, whether it's the network, whether it's the application, whether it's not the end user's device? And essentially you can go into the web application health, you can check the WAN health as well. This complements the access very well. Essentially what we can do is we have full access and we can see, what the applications are doing. Are they okay? Are they working? Is it affecting the WAN or the LAN? Is it affecting the server speed? If we go into WAN health as well, again, we can see, the links, the uplinks, are they fine? And everything, fortunately, at the moment is good. So we've got no issues there. But say, for example, there was, one office talking to another office and they're experiencing issues. You can very quickly go in here and then, determine, what the network is if there's an issue. And again, it's all very easy within the dashboards. And again, single pane, this can be done, from somebody's mobile phone. This can be done on any location as somebody's got, internet connectivity and they can use this on the cloud. So it's super easy. And then by clicking that, we can go in here, we can see if there's an issue with, the uplink from WAN 1 or WAN 2. Quite often, maybe WAN 1 is experiencing issues in their ISP provider. I've got some downtime or something like that. Maybe somebody's severed through a wire, and then we can quite easily see. And then you can go in and sort of have access to all this information. And then Systems Manager, as Emma mentioned, it's very easy, for somebody to basically provision, lots of end user devices. So what we're experiencing at the moment is a lot of people that are remote working from home on different devices. Systems Manager supports all different operating systems as well. So in terms of giving you that full coverage, it's very easy to deploy. And for example, at Meraki, we